Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name's Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Oh, yeah.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. Today is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But hey, you know what we like to say? The fun is all in the trying.
Yeah, how's your trying going? Are you there yet? Are you there yet? Did you make it to the weekend
dude,
yet?
I am so there today. I got some stuff. Actually, I have some stuff I have to go do today, but I started it actually before the show. I got one thing I got to go do for about an hour, and then I'm coming back, and I'm just hanging for the rest of the weekend.
I took a couple extra hours off earlier today. I'll probably have to make up for it tomorrow, but the party is not started yet. It's still monsters, you know, that kind of stuff.
There you go. Working on it. That's kind of your pre-party routine. Get those monsters in, and then do your thing when you get a chance. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Not mean?
That's it.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. Well, hey, let's since it's about that time that we're supposed to be getting our work done, why don't we earn some dollars real quick and give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Let's do it. Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, you probably got one of their barrels and don't even know it. Bam. Well, now you can buy from them factory direct. Just get over to hitmanindustries.net. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting the good fight behind enemy lines. Now you could take part in California's future today. If you want the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get a nice little discount. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, kind of gear you need to just get on to get your gear on, get on over to uscombatgear.com, where you can get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They make it a point to help us, reach you, to help you reach them. And so here's what you got to do. What you got to do is you got to go to the links in the description to this program. It's real simple. We make it real simple. You click on that link, it'll take you to their website. Check it out. If you like what you see, make sure that you spend some money with them. And when you do that, make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. Oh, yeah. All right. Let's get into it today, shall we? Yes, we shall. We're going to go ahead and start with California's $20 minimum wage. Now, the interesting thing about this is anybody who's understood, who's ever studied just basic Econ 101, you understand what happens when you create a price floor for labor. It is several things happen. Prices go up for whatever products are in that area. Prices go up. Unemployment goes up. Profits go down. And in some cases, businesses shut down. And ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what we have had happen here in the state of California on Monday. On Monday, no less. California's $20 minimum wage for fast food workers went into effect. And immediately you saw costs go up. In many cases, a lot of the stuff went up as much as $2 for a particular item. Let me go ahead and read a little bit of the story here for you. It says you'll be dropping a lot of dollar on that Whopper. Menu prices at fast food chains across California have increased as a new law went into effect requiring them to pay a $20 an hour minimum wage to workers from Monday. The Post checked menus at several restaurants in the Los Angeles area to see the costs already being passed on to consumers with mixed results. The biggest leap was at Burger King, where the Texas Double Whopper meal cost $15.09 on March 29th, but surged to $16.89 on April 1st. The whopping increase of $1.80, nearly 12% for that same meal. Now, Mike, what they're failing, I think in this case, that they're failing to notice in this article was we knew that the law was coming. $15 for that meal was not the price as of a year ago. And I wish they had actually priced it from a year ago, because a year ago, I'll bet you anything that the price of that meal was closer to $10, maybe $11, but a lot closer. The reality is that they knew it was coming, and so a lot of these places slowly but surely wound up increasing their prices as of, I think it was September when they got signed into law. They've been slowly but steadily increasing their prices. Now, the other thing we've seen, Mike, is drastic layoffs. Pizza Hut laid off 1,200 drivers. A lot of places are going with more automation. They're putting those kiosks in their lobbies, and then they're also providing deep discounts if you use their app in order to purchase their food, in order to purchase and pay for their food. Also, that they can limit the number of people who are going to be coming in, that number of people that they're going to need to employ, because they realize this is just dry. There's no way they can afford to run a business with a bunch of people at $20 an hour.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Craig, listen, a meal at Burger King for $16.89. I wouldn't pay $16.89 to buy the franchise. I mean, to buy Burger King. It's just they're Burger King, and they're not what they used to be. Remember when Burger King used to be McDonald's competitor? Now they're just another third tier, fast food place out there. Craig, this is we talk about the old math and the new math and the Common Core math and everything that these kids are studying today. When is somebody going to introduce it to your legislators? When's it somebody going to introduce it to your governor out there? Hey, we're going to make it $20 for minimum wage. Everybody will make more money. Oh yeah, Craig, because the businesses, these guys are just rolling in it. They got the diamond studded cars they drive around in. So they're just going to have to come off that little bit more so we can pay for free college. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant so we could pay for $4 more an hour to get them to get raises. This rolls downhill, folks. This money has to come from somewhere. And if it comes from the organization, guess what? It's a 25% raise right there. That's not coming out of their pockets. Okay. That's coming out of your pockets, the consumer's pockets, whether that be I eliminate employee costs completely by putting in kiosks and apps, or I raise the prices of food to pay for the employees that I currently have there. You're the one paying for it. Even if the government were to give it more, Craig, right? If the Newsom were to jump in and say, hey, I'm going to kick in money towards minimum wages, guess what? You're still paying that in your taxes, okay? No matter where it comes from. This is easy, stupid math. And yet California can't get this right. Well, all they're doing, Craig,
and it's because
is the customers paying more, and the customers paying more, and people are losing their jobs. That's what this has accomplished.
Well, and there you go. So what happens is the people who wind up, because keep in mind, the people who tend to depend on the products, goods, and services provided by minimum wage workers more likely tend to be people who earn minimum wage. So you've just seen their cost of living go up on top. And by the way, for those who lost their jobs, because trust me, many have lost their jobs. Not only did they see their cost of living go up, but instead of getting a raise to $20 an hour, they got a cut to $0 an hour. And for some reason, it's like this was what makes me mad about this, Mike, is this was predictable. Everyone told them that this was going to happen. And sure enough, it has in fact happened. But it's not just going to have an impact on just the fast food industry. Because, for example, I'm a school board member. We have some aides, some part-time classroom aides. We have some people who work in our cafeteria who earn less than $20 an hour. When they realize that they can go to McDonald's or they can go to some other store and they can work for $20 an hour, they're going to, all of a sudden now they're going to come to us and say, well, we need more money or we want more money. Also because their cost of living has gone up, which means that all of us wind up paying, whether or not you eat fast food or not, you will wind up paying for this particular policy.
Yeah. Listen, minimum wage, Craig, and these jobs were all designed to be for those high school kids or college kids that need that side cash and can learn some basic job skills before going out into the real job market. It was never meant to be a lifelong career. Let me explain something to you about the words minimum wage. Minimum wage does not mean the minimum wage you need to earn in order to make a living. That's not what minimum wage means. Minimum wage means the amount of money I legally have to pay you so I don't get arrested for slavery. Okay. That's what it was designed for. It wasn't designed so you got a living wage. It was designed to keep me from paying you a nickel a day. So there would be some fair value paid to you.
Well, and it's a way in which people with no experience can actually get some work experience. And here's the deal, folks. If you, they were like, if you have been at a minimum wage job for 2 or 3 years, you don't understand the concept of minimum wage. If you're not moving up at that company to where you are earning more money, then you need to move out of that company and get a better job. We just had, what's it, the great, what do they call it? The great quitting or whatever they call it, where people were just deciding they didn't want to do a job anymore, which meant that there were jobs available. You don't have to work for minimum wage. And just like you don't have to work for minimum wage, your employer's not obligated to pay you more than minimum wage. Here's the thing. In fact, they are not obligated to pay you any more than what it takes to keep you there.
That's right.
That's it. That's all they should be obligated to pay. And by the way, that should not be above what value you bring to the company. If you don't bring $20 an hour worth of value to that company, if you're not making $20 an hour or more, because you should be making more for that company, well, then you are a waste of resources. That employer is losing money on you. Every single minute you are working, they are losing money. And then, Mike, the thing that gets me is they treat these places like, oh, well, these are multi-billionaires. Well, a lot of these are franchisees, right? Which means that they're not the big McDonald's corporation. They own a franchise of that corporation. They're a small business owner. And yet they're being forced and treated like they are multi-billionaires able to afford this. And quite frankly, even a multi-billionaire can't afford to just keep losing money.
Yeah, listen, I don't know, folks, if you've never been a business owner out there, and a lot of people think this, they walk in the door at your business and ask for free money and free things because they think if you're a business owner, you must be rich. I don't care what the company is, whether it's McDonald's Corporation itself, Walmart Corporation, or the guy that owns the mom and pop store. The low level people, the worker bees that work regular jobs or own small businesses, all make about the same amount of money. Okay, it's just the system's just designed that way. It's the way the system works out. I don't care if you make $100,000 a year or $500,000 a year, you're always going to owe about 10% more than you have coming in. It's just the way life is designed, folks. It's just the way life is designed.
Exactly. Anyway, I'm hoping that California will kind of experience the same thing that Oregon did and Oregon did when it came to the decriminalization of drugs and realize, yeah, that's a bad idea. We need to undo that. I'm hoping that they will recognize what a bad idea this is and how this is hurting people, how it's hurting, in fact, the very people that they say they want to help, low-income low-skilled workers of color. They're the ones most likely to be unemployed, to be made unemployed by these policies.
Yeah, you're illegal immigrants, Craig. They're going to be the ones that look. These are going to seem like great jobs, right? Hey, great jobs. Let them take them. But why should we when the federal government, your state government's already give them a check to do nothing?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. Exactly. Here's an interesting story. The National Organization of Women. The National Organization of Women has come out in support of men being in women's sports. That's right. The national organization, they didn't just come out in favor of it. Mike, they came out and basically said not allowing men in women's sports is white supremacist patriarchy. It says here, the National Organization for Women now sees those who oppose the inclusion of trans athletes in women's sports as proponents of white supremacist patriarchy. In a social media post specifically targeting a group consisting of several prominent female athletes who are suing the NCAA for violating their Title IX rights by allowing transgender swimmer Leah Thomas to compete against them and use their changing areas during the 2022 NCAA Swimming Championships, now posted a statement to X blasting the female athletes as weaponizing womanhood to further the interest of white supremacist patriarchy. In fact, here's the post right here. It says, repeat after us. Weaponizing womanhood against other women is white supremacist patriarchy at work. Making people believe there isn't enough space for trans women in sports is white supremacist patriarchy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but if you happen to have a penis, does that not make you part of the patriarchy?
It would, Craig. It definitely would. Hence the term, patriarchy for the paternal part of the male portion of the family lineage. That's the way that works. I don't understand how it's white supremacist patriarchy though, because we're talking about officials that are white saying that a white man can't come into a sport where white women are competing, but it's white supremacists. I don't get that. I mean, that's like when a white guy gets into a fight with a white guy saying it's white hate crime. What? We're the same. It's
the same exactly because Mike, because they have nothing else in their playbook, right? Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, it's 4th and 20. We got to go for it. We only have run plays. Okay, dive to the left. Wholly inappropriate play. Not going to get you where you want to be, but that's all you got. And that's really all they have because logic is not on their side. Title IX was created specifically to create an avenue for women to participate in sports because they realized that women were not being given the same opportunities. Why were they not being given the same opportunities? Because biologically they could not compete with men in most sports. That is just a fact of biology. So they were required, schools were required to create programs, provide resources, provide slots and opportunities for women to be able to participate and compete and succeed in sports. Now, how is that going to happen? If you create an environment where you now bring the mediocre of the male species into a sport where they are now, we're going to call them women, and where they are clearly superior biologically to those with which they are with whom they are competing, and then we're surprised when the male soccer team, the male gendered soccer team, winds up winning and kicking everybody's butt down there in Australia, or when Leah Thomas, who is 6'5", outweighs all of her competitors by almost 100 pounds, winds up winning almost everything in the NCAA swim competitions. And then, oh, by the way, we're supposed to be protecting our women by giving them facilities where they can change. And then you just let some dude come in there with this swinging thing and just hang out like, hey, ladies, how you doing? And that's what he's doing, by the way.
Do you remember the movie The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville?
Yes.
Where he pretended to be special needs to compete with the special needs kids so he could win and be a hero and get the prize money. That's coming next. I really think that's the next thing we're going to see. We're going to see people show up and say, no, I identify as special needs. I'm going to compete against these special needs people. We're going to see that next.
Well, you know what? I identify as a 12-year-old. I want to go play Pop Warner football.
Oh yeah, there we go. You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go play. I'm gonna go play Cal Ripken baseball because I don't want to hurt the other kids, but in baseball, I could just keep jacking them out.
Just keep jacking them out there.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, so what happens if they block the baseline when you're coming through?
Oh, wait, it's not allowed anymore in baseball. There's no more contact in baseball, Craig. It's like
yeah, that's probably
like watching basketball.
Yeah, there's almost no more contact in basketball. I mean, it's
saying.
hard for me, man, because look, I grew up in the era of hand checking, and I mean the bad boys and Michael Jordan, and just I grew up in an era where basketball was considered a contact sport. And when I'm playing with the youngins nowadays, if I even set a screen too hard, they look at me cross-eyed.
Listen, you had to have it. You was like, okay, we're putting a team together. We need ourselves a Bill Lambier or a Kurt Rambis. We gotta have one of those on every team. You had to have one guy go out there knocking people in the back when they went up for layups every time. You had to have it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was my job.
Yep. To play football on the basketball court. That was the job.
All right, more on the gender bending madness. We've reported on this show that several European countries have now decided they are no longer going to provide gender affirming care, meaning they're not going to provide the medication or the surgeries to minors. One, because they realize that they've noticed that it doesn't really have an effect. The suicide rates does not change post gender affirming care. The other thing that they noticed was there was absolutely no evidence showing that these treatments were safe, specifically safe for children. In fact, there was a lot of evidence noting that it was not, in fact, safe for children. Well, as a result of that, we're starting to see, there's been a movement also in Europe, not just pointing out that it was a bad idea. In other words, not just saying that it was junk science, but in this case, they're now saying it's actually malpractice. And I'll read a little bit of the piece here that's over at the Federalist. It says, Science has confirmed that men squashing their junk is, in fact, painful and unhealthy. A new study found that a supermajority of gender-confused men who tuck their genitalia in an effort to avoid a telltale budge, quote, experienced at least one side effect, with gonad pain reported most frequently. The more a man tucked, the more he risked ill effects, some of which, infection, testicular torsion, infertility, are severe. The Daily Mail helpfully illustrated the point by dredging up the experiences of trans-identified TikTok influencer Dylan Mulvaney, best known for tanking Anheuser-Busch's stock and sales, to confirm that tucking, yes, is indeed very painfully involved. This study demonstrates the reality of so-called gender-affirming medicine, which is that follow-up reporting demonstrate tucking is painful and risky, while providing no physical benefits whatsoever. Nevertheless, the study's authors not only tell doctors to, quote, ask patients if they would like to discuss the risks, benefits, and safe methods of tucking, but also to, quote, ask about preferred anatomy terminology, as the words penis and testicles may be offensive to this population. Now, Mike, the thing that gets me about this is number one, they're not even having conversations about the risks. That was a risk that I'm like, was clearly predictable. I don't understand how they didn't know that was going to be. I didn't know that it would have the medical issues or long-term potential issues like infertility that they were talking about. But yeah, I would have guessed it would be painful. That's not even getting into the idea that they're recognizing that the gender affirming, the medication, that the hormones cause osteoporosis and infertility. Obviously having surgeries to remove the stuff in order to do a vaginoplasty, see, I got it right this time. To do a vaginoplasty is actually creating an open wound that once again can get infected, can cause rotting tissue. I mean, that is literally detrimental to their health. And medical professionals, number one, I'm not going to say they didn't know. I believe they did know. I believe they refused to talk about these dangers because there was a lot of money to be made from gender affirming care.
Craig, bring the story back up again. That paragraph on Dylan Mulvaney or whatever is there. Okay. Mall helpfully illustrated the point of dredging up the experience of trans-identified blah, 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 best known as tucking and all that good stuff. That helpfully illustrated link, don't click on that. I learned that today. You don't want to click on a link that says
you learned that? I'm glad you said something because I was about to assume you wanted me to click on it. I was about to click on it.
Click on that link. Click on that link. Listen, we are not balloon animals. Okay, this is not natural. I mean, think about it. I mean, Craig, you take your reproductive support organs there, and then you spin them around and push them in the back, and that's not good for it. Take anything else that has blood flow to it, and cut it off, and turn it and spin it and push it around. It can't be good, right? I'm going to put a tourniquet on my arm for the next 6 hours. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be all right. And that's really what you're looking at.
I am quite sure that at one time in your youth, you've probably had a partner who was a little less than genteel with the old twig and berries, and if that in and of itself did not teach you, nothing would.
Oh well, in sports, it's everybody gets a cup check every once in a while, and
that used to be a bad one, man. And you know what's funny is I realized my son's generation, almost never wore a cup. I said you wouldn't have survived. You would not have survived in my generation. You wouldn't have. You'd look, either that or I wouldn't have grandkids. One of the two.
Well, it's funny because you can listen to the old time football players, and they say, "Listen, you got into the scrum or you were tackling somebody. If they didn't have a cup, you used that to your advantage. You gave it to them there." Yeah.
No doubt. Look, folks, that's real stuff he's telling you right there. That is real stuff.
Yeah.
That is not that's the truth. That's the fact, Jack.
Yeah.
But anyway, once again, going back to all this, look, we now know it is clearly it's clearly medical malpractice. And there was even one editorial from a British newspaper that basically said, when we look back on this, we are literally it is going to be a dark, dark day in America. In the world, when we look back on what we did to children who were confused, who were confused, or who were in some cases just trying to find a way to fit in, and the butchery that we did to them in the name of social science or social experimentation is beyond sad.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a dark day for sure when people finally look back and go, what were these idiots thinking? What were they thinking?
Exactly. All right. Excuse me. Here we got a story. It says California media outlet learns the truth about AR bans. Now, the California Weekly is really it is a publication that is targeted towards politicos, towards people who are involved in the public policy process. And what's interesting about it is that they tend to be nonpartisan. I mean, they write stuff about a bunch of stuff, but obviously being in California, there is a natural leaning towards the left. Well, our good friend, Mr. Tom Knighton over at Bearing Arms, wrote a piece because he noticed in a recent article that they did that they actually did what most media outlets don't do. And that is that they actually did their homework on the issue of assault weapons bans. And it says here, I know there are pro-gun people in California. I would be him, but only because I've interacted with them to some degree or another. If I hadn't, it would be easy to think the entire state is think of the entire state as being an anti-gun vortex where your rights get sucked into nothingness. But that's not entirely true. Like most states, there is an anti-gun sentiment in urban centers that in more rural sentiment in urban areas than in more rural parts of the state. One might imagine that the media is a little different, though. We've seen many small town papers try to justify gun control, after all. No, we've seen many big time papers do it too. So it's got to be worse in California, especially for politically focused publications. That's what I would have thought. And then I came across this piece in the California Weekly. And he goes on to basically point out in this piece, first of all, he talks about how Dan Walters, who's a conservative columnist for Cal Matters, which is a nonprofit, so they kind of have to be a little balanced, talks about Newsom and gun control. But he really gets into the weekly where they actually, during SHOT Show, they went and hung out with Laura Smith. You and I know Laura Smith, Mike, from the Liberal Gun Club. They actually went to a gun range. They took an M4, but then they also took 2 California compliant ARs, and they actually looked at and compared the 2 firearms and compared the usages of them and realized that other than looking kind of weird, the California AR is not dissimilar from ARs that are owned in the rest of the country. They just make them look a little weirder.
Yeah, let's be clear that we're talking about the difference between an AR-15 and the California compliant AR-15s, not the M4s, because the M4 is the military full auto version, which you're banned from having currently. This is just it's nice to see the education. It's ridiculous that it takes this long for them to actually sit down and take a look at it. The media, like you said, large newspapers, even small newspapers, are trying to justify gun control, and it's never going to work. Never, ever going to work in this country. Stop looking around the world. This country was born in blood. It's our history. It's our tradition. It's never going to stop.
Well, and here's the other thing is I don't think they ever would have went and met with, say, someone from the NRA or someone from this case that'd be the California Rifle and Pistol Association or FPC or the Second Amendment Foundation. So having someone like a liberal gun club or someone like a Michael Sedini with Walk the Talk America, people who are more how shall we say liberal in their politics, to be able to sit down with them and actually share with them some of this stuff is helpful.
I'll say that the liberal gun owners that are out there doing their job as liberal gun owners are doing none of us any favor. And as far as I'm concerned, we could do without them, because if at the end of the day you vote for the guy who's going to take your guns away, you're no friend to us.
Well, that is definitely a solid point. But in some places, like I said, there are pro-gun Democrats. I'll give a great example here in California was a guy named Rod Wright, who is an assemblyman and then a state senator who consistently voted pro-gun every single time, and yet was still constantly reelected out of the city of Los Angeles as a state senator. So,
hey, listen, Craig, I'm not saying there's no use for him. I mean, I'm just saying, listen, even dog crap is good as fertilizer. So.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Michael Piwowarski has no shortage of quality analogies, let me tell you. All right, folks. Well, hey, that brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holsters today. Our first parting shot today. Well, let's just say it's along the lines of our first story when we were talking about transgenders being involved in sports. And I think he makes a solid point here, although I don't know that the comparison is exactly fair. So I'll put it that way. Let y'all listen to it.
I know women are really upset that the trans women are competing in women's sports with them, but I'll be honest, I can't wait for the day when trans women completely replace women, and women's sports. That's my dream. I have a Martin Luther King dream that one day trans women completely replace women at women's sports. And then women will know what white people went through when we let black people play sports. That shit difficult, ain't it? That's why we have no sympathy for you ladies. We hear you on the news like, how can we win? They run faster and jump higher. We're like, oh, I wonder what that is like. I wonder. That must be so difficult to have a group of people that run faster and jump higher now competing against you. And now you can't play for the Knicks and drop 40 every single fucking game.
So the good thing, Craig, though, I think you're right. If it's just trans women playing sports, the WNBA will just be known as the white NBA rather than the women's NBA, because it'll just be white dudes playing basketball
because
dressed as women.
let me tell you what you will wind up seeing is you'll basically wind up seeing a lot more. All of a sudden, the trans community will start to grow within the black community. And you will start to see basically what you'll start to see is basically two male sports leagues is what you'll start to see.
Yeah, exactly right. You have the professionals and then the trans league. You know, that's what you're going to get. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Mike, you did hear about Diddy, right?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm with you. I hear you.
Okay, well, I just found it interesting. I wanted to this one right here just really kind of points them out. It's like, if you notice the connection, look at all these. When I did the story on this one, I noted that he was basically another Democrat mega donor is going to jail. And I'm looking, let's see, we've got Harvey Weinstein, we've got Bill Cosby, we got Diddy, Bill Clinton. Although he didn't do any jail time. He was just a perv.
Right. Top right, you know who that is with him? Who's that?
Top right. Oh, that's Jesse Smollett.
Juicy Smollett. The French actor, yeah.
Oh. And then, Mike, this last one, this one really just kind of sums it all up. And this is why, by the way, we do what we do with the parting shots, because Democrats come up with these $1 million propaganda machine campaigns, and we just come up with a nice meme.
Yep. Boom. Gotcha.
Boom. Point simply made.
Gotcha.
Point, set, match.
Yep. There you go.
It's just a flesh wound.
Yep.
All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today. But before we go, let's give it a quick shout out for our sponsors.
That's right. Hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. Now you get AR barrels in any caliber, in pistol or rifle, in any length for your next pistol or rifle build. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And if you're looking for the best in tactical gear, the best in field gear, you can get everything except the gun at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment, visit our sponsors. Their links are in the description of this program, and let them know that it was the guys over at the Rundown that sent you. Also want to remind you, if you haven't already done so, however you partake of the program, please like and share. Let your friends know that you can find the Rundown, that we're on live Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, or you can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And with that, we're going to call it a show. We're going to call it a day, but we will be back tomorrow on Throat Punch Thursday. Y'all have fun. Stay safe till then.